Hi, this is Majo John Madden. My mouth is dry. I haven't drank anything for a while. I slept for probably a half hour or an hour like this. I'm in the back of the camper van. It's Sunday morning, so the world is slow on the Sabbath. And it'd be interesting to compare the Sabbath in Mexico. I found that in Appalachia, they really kept the Sabbath. Even people who were not religious, who didn't go to church and stuff, would mostly not shop. They would spend the day at home with family or visiting family, go to the woods or something. So let's see what it's like in Mexico, Catholic and Christian country. We've had a very slow Sunday, even though I got some kind of significant business has to get done, because this little baby is sick. He has spent the last hour in that exact spot. He doesn't want to move, and he's just kind of moaning. Can you hear it? Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me, I want to hear. He got sick. He threw something up. Threw up 3 times, just clear liquid. He had eaten some of Magic's canned food last night. I don't think it was that. There was nothing solid. I made him my business at the Walmart last night got busted because my PayPal card wouldn't run. I've had problems with it for months, and they have sent me 2 replacement cards, but both times I had moved on from the post office box in Harlingen, Texas. And they only would hold stuff for 15 days, so it got sent back twice. And I knew that was trouble. I knew that I sure didn't want a tricky credit card. It runs sometimes. Ran at the Hampton Inn right there. We're right next to it. A couple days ago, and there was all kinds of money. There was like $52 in there. And it was important. We had been camping for 3 days. We had completely run out of food, and I was completely bewildered. I have to go back over there today, and I'll take a video. That Walmart is so extraordinarily different from any Walmart I've ever seen. I got really, really used to the Walmarts in the U.S. because in 3 years of camping, they allow you to park overnight, and they usually have Wi-Fi so strong I can pull it from the parking lot, and have cheap stuff. And I overcame almost all of my prejudices against Walmart. I had been a classic a middle-class guy from the city who poo-pooed Walmart and poo-pooed even the shoppers at Walmart, which it has so embarrassed me that I ever did that, because Walmart shoppers are wonderful people, especially out in the country. They're just everybody. In the country, Walmart is the only department store there is. My only big gripe with Walmart is they pay people so pitiful. They're still starting people at $8 or $9 an hour. So I've written a bunch of really great Google reviews about specific managers at Walmart or staff, if they've been really great. But I have really dinged them on several occasions about the terrible pay. But so I went there to get specific. I have to make this money last the rest of the month. So I was going to get kibble, a bag of kibble, puppy kibble, and powdered milk for the puppy, and me to make protein shakes. And I got a can of infant formula, which I've used for me because it's higher nutrition and can be very cheap depending on where you get it. So I had those 2 things, and they didn't have grits. No grits down here. They're not into grits down here. I guess it's a southern U.S. thing, because that's a staple for me. And although I grew, as a baby, I was crazy about oatmeal. My mom used to laugh about as a baby, I would pack away 2 or 3 servings of oatmeal. Certainly not instant back then. But I usually will, stuff on camping on the road, packs of instant grits. But I couldn't get those, so I had the oatmeal, and I couldn't get my PayPal to run. And Minerva I guess was a supervisor or front end manager, and I think she got the store manager, or maybe she was a supervisor. She got the front end manager, a really nice guy. And they worked damn hard to make it work, but it finally didn't work. And I have to end classic snag. The charge got taken out of my PayPal because when I went online, and PayPal didn't have agents online after 7. But the outgoing message, the automated message said I was down to $7. So I said, hey, Minerva, listen to this message because they've charged me for it. PayPal's taken it. And I had that happen a couple of years ago in Louisville, Kentucky, where my Asheville, North Carolina bank had charged me, but it got rejected at Target. And so I was stuck with my money gone, not available to me. And when the bank couldn't fix it, even a vice president of the bank did not have the power to straighten out $110. The really sharp young woman manager at Target, who was a pro, she heard that on the voice. She could hear me talking on the speakerphone, and she just wrote her name and opened the till and handed me the $115. She was so disgusted with the whole thing. So, Target manager had power that a bank vice president didn't. So this poor dog is moaning, just doesn't want to move. So what happened was this morning I made a little porridge or made milk from little creamers left over from my coffee, and I think it was too rich for him. I think it was just too rich for him, and his tummy didn't like it. So he's been sick. When my kid was sick, my son is 45 now, when he was sick, he had a lot of trauma because he was adopted and he had been born very premature and was in the hospital for 2.5 months, rotating caregivers in emergency, intensive care in the hospital. And it was 2 pounds, 13 ounces, 45 years ago. They said he had a really strong APGAR. He had a fighting spirit, and this puppy has fighting spirit. But he would have so much trauma, and he'd have fits where he would cry so deeply. We adopted him at 5.5 months, so maybe 7 months, 8 months, cry so pathetically, so deep that his mom couldn't handle it, just couldn't handle it, and she'd hand him over to me. And I'd walk him and rock him, and sometimes dancing, sometimes rock music would soothe him. But I'd just talk to him and say, tell me about it, I want to hear. And he'd go deeper and deeper and deeper, and I'd say, yeah, it was awful, wasn't it? You had no mama, it was terrible. I called it heroic counseling. And Mike Perricone, Perricone, was a couples counseling client of mine, sports writer for the Chicago Sun-Times, covered the Blackhawks back then. I guess that was the 80s. His wife, Joan, who I'd been consulting to their printing company, had been made the COO of the company. She basically took off overrunning the company because she had more skills than the two brother-in-laws who ran the company. So she was about to give up her job. So Mike took a year off and stayed home and wrote a book. He's a great writer, and you can find the book still. Jenny's Dad, Jennie, Jenny's Dad, about his year that he took off from being somewhat noted sports reporter in Chicago to raise their little daughter. And he quoted me. He referred to the concept of heroic counseling. And that's the stuff that bonds you with your kids. I used to say all the time, when they're hurting, when you just have to, your heart breaks for you can't make it better for them, it bonds you. It gets you so close to them. And this has certainly got me closer with this puppy who didn't want to fight. He didn't, and he was cold, and it is a cold morning here this morning. He just wanted to be inside my coat, on my shoulder, and he's been there for an hour. And he's going to be fine. I'm not worried about him because he threw it all up. But he's just weak, and I think he had gas. I think he probably had gas pains. Okay, 10 minutes. Bye, folks. This is an odd TikTok, isn't it?